Hey guys, this is Mr. Oxy coming at you live from Palm Beach in Florida. It is March the 2nd. It is about 8:30 in the evening. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I thought what I would do is try to catch up. I think I've responded to almost all the questions and comments that were asked on the channel, but I might have missed a couple, and I thought what I would do is go through a few of the most pertinent points and things that are going on in the marketplace today, and just take a few minutes of your time to kind of walk you through it. So this particular email that I've got open here is from my latest little message that I sent to the people that we have as clients who are under management with us. And one of the references I made here is to the VIX being at 31, which is up almost 80% in the past 6 months. The VIX is the volatility index as measured by the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, the CBOE volatility index. If the volatility index is very high, that means we're going to see a lot of volatility in the market. If it's low, then we see sort of more normal market fluctuations. So at the time I wrote this, which is a few days ago, this was February 23rd, the VIX was at 31. And right now it's basically at 31. This is as of today. So not a lot has changed there. And there's a lot of volatility in the market as a result. Let's quickly talk about a couple of things I highlighted here in my note to my investors. So one of the things is the Russian-Ukraine conflict. And I mentioned a couple of other examples. The housing market appears to be topping for resale home prices anyway. The commercial office space real estate market has pretty much collapsed. No one wants to go back to work. Everybody wants to work from home, assuming it's possible. Of course, if you work in a factory, then you can't really work from home. But if you're in the sort of new modern technology-based type technology, you can certainly work from home. So many people have elected to either quit or work from home. Governments have created and injected far too much make-believe cash into the system, which is also known as printing money. I think we all know that. The vaccines have demonstrated poor or even zero efficacy. This is not a political statement. It's just a matter of fact. It's a statement of fact, right? Many people who have been double boosted and had even double vaxxed and had two boosters after that still contract COVID. So obviously the vaccine isn't really a vaccine by definition. Anyway, as I said, there's no critical comment. I'm not trying to sort of gel things up and rub people the wrong way. Several authoritarian regimes cancel people's freedom of movement. This is a critical thing for me because when you cancel people's freedom of movement, you are in effect locking them down, which means they have lost their freedom. And even if freedom is just a sort of proverbial concept of freedom, if you lose the freedom of movement, whether it's as a result of war between Russia and Ukraine and people are unable to move because there's no transport available, or whether you have been locked down because you are stuck inside your home or your state or your city or whatever the case might be, those are things that impact you negatively and impact the economy negatively because it impacts GDP negatively because there's less productivity. High energy costs, of course, obviously mainly as a result of heating and gasoline, has created a hyperinflationary climate. And that hyperinflationary climate is due, at least in part, to a lack or a reduction in consumer spending. Let's talk a little bit about the situation in Russia and the Ukraine. I'm not an expert in this regard. I kind of follow the media the same way you do. But we do have people on our channel like EFX who said, Rudy, I'm from Lithuania. So Lithuania is just sort of on the proverbial other side of the Russian border from the Ukraine. The situation in Ukraine is really bad. Russia, and in fact, Belarusia, which is Belarus for us, also invaded Ukraine with full power. Half of Ukraine is completely destroyed. Kiev, Kharkiv, Donetsk, etc. All these cities have been destroyed. I don't know the extent of the damage. This is not a good thing. I mean, I don't think, I can't imagine how this is beneficial to anyone except for this one point, which is kind of interesting. We saw a number of super majors, Royal Dutch Shell, BP, Exxon, withdraw or otherwise dispossess themselves of their assets in Russia. So what they're basically doing is they're selling these assets for pennies to the dollar which means someone's buying it, right? There's always someone on the other side of every trade. So when you think of it from a purely sort of, let's call it a first responder point of view, when you see a fire, do you run to it or do you run from it? You know, so it's tough to be a contrarian, but when you look at the large Russian companies like Gazprom and Rosneft, etc., you have a situation where they are actually buying back their assets for pennies to the dollar. And as a result of the current conflict, their stock price has pretty much just been crushed, right? So they are so cheap, like Lukoil, you know, is trading with a market cap of around $25 billion. Just a few weeks ago, Lukoil's market cap was well over a couple of hundred billion. You know, so this is a very, very extraordinary circumstance. And if you think that in the future, somewhere, Russia is going to recover from this, maybe withdraw from the Ukraine, and all these very lucrative assets like Gazprom and Rosneft and Lukoil are going to recover, then this is a buying opportunity second to none. But man, it's scary because you could lose all your money. Anyway, back to EFX. Putin is even activating atomic weapons. Now, that would be dire for all humanity. We don't want to see that. So hopefully this doesn't happen. But anyway, on the channel, in the comments section, EFX has provided us with some very useful information. And I'm assuming for the sake of benefit, most of it is sort of firsthand. So we want to take a look at that. As Occidental investors, you are probably feeling pretty good right now, right? You're sort of in a happy space. Over the past 5 days, we've seen Occidental go from about $38 to about $48. This has been an epic rise and probably arguably way overdue. In fact, even at $48.37 as it closed today, arguably it is still undervalued, even though Mr. Oxy is not buying more. I am just in a hold pattern right now and seeing where it goes. But I'm speaking for me. I'm not speaking for everybody else here, because people on our channel are saying, hey, Rudy, this is Naveed. He's saying, also, should we lock some profits that's over here at the current price of Oxy, or should we hold it as it is near 50? Well, I cannot answer that, not for Naveed or for anybody else, because I cannot possibly tell you when to exit the position or even to trim some, right? So I just don't know anything or enough about you at all. So even if you communicate with me regularly, I still know nothing about you. I don't know your time frame. I don't know your income. I don't know your investment objectives. I don't know your age. I don't know anything about you. So there's no way I could possibly give you that advice or counsel in terms of what you should do with Occidental Petroleum if you are long Oxy. But what we can do is we can say, how about we base our decision on people who are smarter than what we are. And for the sake of benefit, for the sake of argument here, I'm going to give Carl Icahn the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to say, because he's probably, I'm assuming, richer than most of the people watching this video, we can see that as of the last date, the last quarterly filings, Carl Icahn and all these conglomerates, so all these different entities that he files on behalf of, owned approximately 45 million shares of Occidental Petroleum. And in fact, he just made it into the top 5. So where are we today? So this is from CNN Business, and this is about the only time I ever go to CNN for anything at all, but there is confirmation of the 45 million shares that Icahn Associates Holding LLC held as of the last reporting quarter. Now, just today, we saw there was a filing. This is March the 2nd, 2022, an SEC filing, a 13D or A, which is an amendment to the SC 13D filing. Now, what was that, Mr. Oxy? Well, it was actually that very same Mr. Icahn. These are all his different reporting entities. I'm not going to bore you with all of them because there are many of them. But for example, Icahn Partners Master Fund, Icahn Offshore Limited Partners, etc. And let me just scroll through all of these different reporting entities, and then we see where they are today. And it says in this SEC filing, the reporting persons may be deemed to beneficially own in aggregate 32,586,486 shares in this highlighted section here in the middle of the screen, including shares underlying the warrants see item 5C, representing approximately 3.4 of the issuer's outstanding shares based on the 934 million shares that are outstanding as of January 31, 2022, as disclosed by the issuer. The issuer is Occidental Petroleum in their Form 10K, which is what I went through on the last video, filed with the SEC on February the 24th, and 14,527,607 shares underlying the warrants beneficially owned by the reporting persons. So here you can see all Carl Icahn's sales and the prices that he sold them for, including warrants, obviously with a price per warrant of $22. So we see a reduction in ownership here from a smart guy. So if your question is, Mr. Oxy, should I sell some Occidental Petroleum? We can look back and say, hey, you know what? A few months ago or a quarter ago, Carl Icahn owned about 45 million. And as of today's SEC filing, he owns approximately 32 million shares. So he has sold some. So now in the greater context of what I'm sharing with you, the question is, what is happening with Occidental? It's on a tear. We're almost at $50. Arguably, we're still undervalued. I had tongue-in-cheek suggested previously that I would sell some Occidental at $51 because my cost basis is 17, and 17 times 3, which would be a nice little three-bagger for me, would be $51. In fact, I'm not really planning to sell anything at this time. So we're at $48 or thereabouts. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see what happens over the next few days. Obviously, Mr. Carl Icahn is way smarter than what I am, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there that he knows better than me. But note, he only trimmed his ownership a little. And my comment back to Naveed was to say, hey, you know what? No one ever gets poor taking a little bit of profit. So maybe what you could do is you can trim a little bit of your position, take a little bit of your cash that you had invested in Occidental off the table, which mitigates your risk, and leave the rest to just run and see what happens. But anyway, I cannot give you that advice. I'm not in a position to advise anyone at all. But what I want you to know is that we have Oxy at sort of $50 or thereabouts. If you are concerned about where it's going to go next, take a little bit of cash off the table. If you think this is just the beginning of a big bull run and that Russia is going to be in the Ukraine for the next few months or whatever the case might be, then you just leave it to ride. You know, you make that decision because you need to do your due diligence and make the decision that fits right for you. Talking about the Russian situation in the Ukraine, I am not convinced that when Russia effectively withdraws from the Ukraine or whatever the next step is in that regard, because obviously there's no way I know what's going to happen next. But whatever happens, let's say the conflict ends, I am not convinced that we are going to see a sudden crash in the price of oil. We are still seeing that the OPEC Plus group collectively are holding their position at around 400,000 barrels per day extra, which is nothing in the greater scheme of things. There's the Iran deal. Potentially, Iran produces approximately 4 million barrels per day. It doesn't really impact us significantly in any way because Iran's been selling it anyway. They've just been selling it to countries that ignore US sanctions in general anyway, like China, North Korea, whatever the case might be. And then, of course, we have Russia. Russia is an interesting situation because they produce approximately 10 million barrels of oil per day, which is about 10% of the global required consumption per day, which is about 100 million barrels. That is significant. So I'm not sure where that is going. Obviously, those companies, Lukoil, Gazprom, Rosneft, etc., they're still producing, they're still selling, right? So I saw someone ask the question saying, if they're still selling, how do they get paid? Because their access to Swift banking has been blocked or canceled by the West. Hey, you know what? There are many ways to skin a cat. There are many ways to get paid. So that's completely meaningless, redundant information for me, except for the fact that it is material from the point of view that Russia doesn't have the freedom to trade through their Russian banks and conglomerates and sort of entities that they are linked with in the West in terms of trading in Swift. So I'm not sure where that's going because I just don't know, but you can bet your bottom dollar that the massive oil and natural gas production in Russia has not come to an end. In fact, Germany, as far as I know, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, is still the largest consumer of natural gas produced by Russia, even today as we speak, regardless of the fact that Russia has invaded the Ukraine and all the atrocities going on there, whatever that may be and whatever that looks like, because I don't even know that either. Anyway, guys, I'm trying to put a good spin on it, but there's a lot of stuff going on. So what I'm going to do is close it with this and say, if you're happy with Oxy at about $50 and you have a cost basis that's in the teens, if you entered into your Oxy position at $10, even $20, and you're sitting on a 5-bagger or 2.5-bagger or whatever, take some cash off the table, keep yourself safe, and if you cash out a little bit and keep the rest, whatever fits your investment thesis or narrative, go with that, and just be happy, because what you do need to be happy about for sure is that we have Oxy at nearly $50 per barrel after you guys have been slogging along with me for almost 2 years trying to talk Oxy up and talking Oxy away from bankruptcy to where it is today. So congratulations to all the longs. Well done. I'm delighted for you. I hope you make tons and tons of money. And you know what? Enjoy the good times while it lasts. So this is Mr. Oxy saying thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.